Next on the list, excited to announce our next presenter, Rob McLeod, President CEO of Cambria Gold Mines. This is a rebranded, refinanced, brought back to life company, advancing a focused redevelopment of legacy gold mining complex in the BC's Golden Triangle. By aligning high-grade geology, existing infrastructure, and experienced leadership, Cambria is positioned to move methodically towards sustainable long-life production. Rob, great to have you. Great extension results the other day, which is something I know this play needs. So well done, and well done on capitalizing this thing. And I think you're a northern BC boy. So like this project must be a dream come true for you that you're kind of coming back to your hometown. Is that right?
That's 100% it. It's funny how the universe works. In terms of my whole history ever since being a little boy and being old enough to listen to stories of my dad, who was an underground miner, and hear the history of the famous Premier Gold Mine, and then
Yeah.
up through my first job in mining was working at Premier, working within the mill. My first geological job was working at the Red Mountain Project. And so, it's at the risk of hyperbole, but it was almost a destiny
Oh
for me
man.
that this would be my calling, which is to revitalize these assets and to add a lot of value, not only to shareholders but to the community here. So.
Yeah, that just gave me goosebumps, man. I'm so happy for you. So yeah, let's fly this through. I'm sure we'll have some questions, and we got a lot of people on the show here listening to you. So fly away.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Arlen, for inviting me and for everybody for tuning in to hear about Cambria Gold Mines, which is the former Ascot Resources. Our vision is to have a hub and spoke mining operation here, utilizing all the significant infrastructure that is in place and the highest grade undeveloped underground gold deposit that's bulk mineable in Canada, and with a vision to, in the years ahead, continue to grow production. So this is a very unique story. There is a brand new 2,500 ton per day mill, all the supporting infrastructure, water treatment plant, over 6 kilometers of recently constructed underground development at two of the four deposits. All four deposits have some level of underground workings. There's 2 million ounces of measured and indicated and 1 million ounces of inferred resources here between the four deposits at high grade, with either full mine permits or EA and EIS approval. Mentioned at the start, the history here at Premier, richest mine in North America for 15 years in the 1920s and 30s. Over 2 million ounces of substantial, including spectacular bonanza production. We're huge believers in the exploration upside at both the Red Mountain and the Premier assets. However, our focus is on producing gold. As in Arlen's preamble mentioned, the recent recapitalization and restructure. We recently closed $190 million in equity financing, so the company is well capitalized. An excellent shareholder base. We'll go through the cap table in a minute, discussing some of the big shareholders. And $430 million in tax pools is important. So we are located in the Golden Triangle here. I grew up in Stewart, BC, right on the border with Alaska. There's the two projects, Premier to the north, Red Mountain off to the east. Our vision is to develop this Red Mountain deposit, truck the ore through Stewart and Hyder to be processed at the Premier Mill and blended with these other deposits. There are other gold deposits either nearby or where ore could be brought to this Premier Mill for toll processing. So we do see a bigger picture in the future, whether it's through consolidation or toll processing, to grow the production profile in this famous part of the world. So many of you must be mining investors and have heard the ups and downs of Ascot previously. So when we came in to restructure this company, and we reached an agreement about 6 months ago with the previous board of directors and with secured creditors to fix what went wrong. But what had happened is they built the mill too large for their initial plans. You see, historically, this was a high-grade vein system, aside from a brief period 30 years ago when an open pit mine operated. And so they used the old mill building to build the same size mill, and then they didn't do enough underground development to feed it. So they started it, produced a little bit of gold, shut it down because there wasn't enough gold there. So there's, a lot of other things that went wrong in terms of project execution. I've seen this, whether it was through West Red Lake that I co-founded, or with Selkirk Copper Mines, which I also co-founded. Often management teams don't do enough drilling before they start mining. You can't mine on just indicated resources. You have to mine on measured resources, which translates to proven reserves. So they didn't drill enough. So what is our plan? Red Mountain is the key to success. This spectacular project has what I believe is the largest measured reserve inventory in Canada at 8.8 grams per ton. So that's 544,000 ounces. The first 2 years of mining, the resource grade would be 10.5 grams, but it's not a narrow vein system. It's big and wide. So the average thickness is 25 meters, so it can supply the tons to fill that mill. We would truck the ore through Stewart. We look to imminently start construction on that access road and then blend in with 500 tons per day from Premier. So you'd have a nice mine, and with additional capacity to expand, 2,000 tons per day. That could be in the range of 140 to 160,000 gold ounces per year at what we believe will be amongst the best margins in the industry. Of course, there's obvious potential synergies such as Scotty Resources, Contango Ore and Dolly Varden Silver, which today they officially consummated their merger. While I have this photo, this is the spectacular Cambria ice field. At the far end is Contango, previously Dolly's Homestake Ridge deposit. We believe you could bring ore here by trucking it on an ice field. That's in the future. That's not part of our current plan, but our current plan with these two deposits will be outlined, and this will be one of the biggest catalysts that you will see in this company this year. Will be an updated feasibility study at the end of the year showing the truly stellar economics. Financing, we did a rights offering which cleared a balance sheet. There was $80 million in unpaid liabilities to unsecured creditors. We settled that for $15 million as the use of proceeds from the rights offering, closed $175 million in equity. It's a unit deal. The price was priced at 60 cents and with 85-cent warrants for 1 year. Exercising those warrants would give us sufficient capital to complete our development plan. We're very grateful to Nabari and Sprott, which were two secured creditors, to give a 3-year break on the covenants of their agreements to allow us to execute. Current share structure. So we are well cashed up, have a $440 million market cap. This is something that all investors, you, especially if you're a retail investor listening to this, that large financing, $175 million financing, comes free trading on May 1st. Most of the investors were large, long-only institutions such as Franklin Templeton, Delbrook Capital, Libra, very, very good registry that do see multiples on their initial investment in this company. But the largest is a Peruvian privately held company called Coriapu. They operate the largest private mine in Peru, and they were our lead order with a $45 million financing. Go to our website to hear about the management team that we put together. We will be augmenting the board at the AGM, but we have a tremendous team, particularly of construction experts and mining engineers, as well as very, very good geologists that are remodeling the ore body, and a team of construction experts that will allow us to execute. So I'm going to take you through the two deposits, starting with Premier, and then I'll go to Red Mountain. Premier is comprised of three deposits. Big Missouri and Premier have modern underground development with the mill nearby. Premier, the main Premier deposit is where over 2 million ounces were produced and at bonanza grades. Like first few years of mining, it was 1.5 or 2.5 ounces per ton gold and 100 times that silver. Arlen, if I took you underground today here, I could take you to, it was the last blast that the previous management team took before we took over in January, and it averages 300 grams per ton. High-grade bonanza shoots. Big Missouri, previous management team they ignored the history where it was a bulk mine operation in the 1940s at 3 grams per ton. They tried to go in and high-grade it. We're looking at it as a bulk mineable deposit, particularly at these current high gold prices. We will be, when we update the feasibility study, update the resource table, we are remodeling the geology, and we do expect some changes, such as the grade at Big Missouri to drop significantly, but the tonnage to go up, and probably the ounces would go up as well, too, is what we're expecting. Otherwise, if you just see the only measured resources are at Red Mountain, none from Premier. That's one of the reasons why the previous management team failed. So many of you, when you're looking at advanced stage development projects, ask them where the measured is at. So here's the very aptly named Red Mountain. Red Mountain has a full-size production decline. And just to give you a sense in terms of scale, if you can see these little trenches here and this big yellow cliff, this is the crown pillar. Just shows how wide this ore body is. It's folded actually into big letter S, and it is wide open for expansion. It's two aspects I won't sugarcoat. Tough terrain to get the access road in. It's the biggest area of execution risk that we have, but eminently doable. We just got to make sure we do it on budget and on time. Expect some more news out in the next couple of weeks on that. Big believer in the exploration potential, like, for example, new discoveries down here where the ice recently melted. If any of you follow Goliath Resources and the Eocene age mineralization that they're intersecting, this is what we found previously with IDM Mining. I used to be the old CEO of that. We didn't know what we were looking at that back then because Goliath wasn't found. And so we still see very good exploration potential. M&I, 3.2 million tons at 7.6 grams. Again, most of it is in the measured status. The average thickness of the entire ore body, so if you took every drill hole, what's the average width? It's 15 meters. It's up to 100 meters wide in places. There's an existing 5 by 5 meter decline that will be used actually primarily as a means of secondary exit. But millions and millions of dollars already spent on this project. The ore body is folded into these big letter S's, and it is open in most directions, aside from at surface, obviously, and further off to the east. Tons of infrastructure here. A Cadillac mill. It's missing a few key components such as a crusher and a thickener, which we'll be adding. We have budgeted a water treatment plant, which honestly hasn't been working very well, but we've budgeted a lot to bring it into compliance. Mining fleet, these brand new tailings facility. So there's a lot of infrastructure and over $500 million spent to get all this by previous investors. Actually, and a lot of current investors as well, too, that have been blown up. But all this value for the new investors, and especially if you were buying some today. So access road will be required. This is the key element of execution for our plan, is to build this road. And there's an existing road bed that you can see in this photograph that gets to the base of Red Mountain. So we're rebuilding the first bit, and then we'll have an alpine road with a bunch of switchbacks that will go up or will be hauled down from the alpine level using articulated rock trucks, those wiggle wagons you see at construction sites, transferred to highway trucks, and driven to 50 kilometers for processing at the Premier Mill. So lots of catalysts this year. We have started the infill drilling program. We expect news out in the next few weeks from infilling at Premier. We're adding more drills there this month as well, too. We will be ordering long lead time items. We'll be starting the Red Mountain construction. And actually, we have a lot of other surprises, too, for our investors that are coming in. First of all, we're very grateful for the support from the Nisga'a Nation, who have been longtime friends of mine, friends of my family, and the employment that is at this mine is very important to their people, and they've been very, very supportive of us moving forward. So we have mining and stuff always seems to take longer. So we are planning for a 2-year restart. We're budgeting for a 3. It's that the execution on the roads, you run into crappy weather or tough ground or stuff breaks, is we want to be prepared for that. That's why we structured the financing the way we did with that additional warrant that would bring another $120 million to help fund any sort of last bits that might be required. So in summary, why should you look at Cambria Gold Mines? And it simply comes to value. You know, we look at the other development stage successful companies in Northwest BC, like Artemis, all the value they've created as they've just started production. You know, Bill, like I think SK is around $5 billion, or Skeena Resources. You know, we see a path to that type of valuation if we can execute on our plan, but we have already all these assets: a mill, tailings facility, tax losses, existing underground development. We have very, very good long-term shareholders to allow us to execute on this plan. We have substantial deposits here that are wide open for expansion, that are in high confidence levels that we can put through the mill. We don't need third-party ores to make this deposit work. We have enough ore to fill that mill. We just have to be able to execute on it. We have a very good team that has a ton of experience working in this part of the world, working on construction projects for mines in the north, and excellent support from our partners at the Nisga'a Nation. The lot of catalysts coming up, and as I mentioned, I'm just going to give the hint that there's a few surprises coming too that are positive. So there we are, Arlen. I haven't been tracking time. Am I ahead, behind, or what?
Hey, perfect. We got a couple minutes here. Yeah, we do got a couple questions. Hey, and thanks for telling us when that stock is free trading. Like I love that. You know, when you tell someone, hey, XYZ stock's coming trading in like 6 weeks from now, I think it's a good for people to understand what price people paid for it, and maybe that's an opportunity to kind of sit and wait, or watch what you're doing. So that's awesome. How meaningful were these latest set of assay results to you?
So we the previous management team, and it was headed under a great guy named Jim Curry, who was a steady hand to keep the company solvent.
Yeah, he did.
And I know he's your friend too, and they had to prioritize capital. Unfortunately, there's only so much cash, so they couldn't pay for a lot of analysis. So after we took over management, we paid the lab and we got these assays back. They are very meaningful. There's a lot of infill drilling that was performed that is totally valuable, with our goal of getting a couple of years worth of measured resources and proven reserves. But the big thing is there's 2 new discoveries in it. One just to the north of Premier, and one just to the south. Another one of these 30-meter wide lenses at Big Missouri. It just shows the exploration potential in this part of the world. There's a lot more gold to be found. So yes, those were quite important. They're not game changing. There's thousands of drill holes that are here already, and they're not going to affect our development plan.
Yeah. We are going to run out of time here, Rob, but I got to, well, as I was typing questions to ask you, I heard you say like some of the veins are 24 meters wide. I was like, what? And then you said, and I thought that was a typo, but clearly not, because you said some of them up to like 100 meters. So that's incredible.
The AV zone at Red Mountain, the widest portion of it is 100 meters wide. So these will be big. You do like 7,000 ton blasts in these big long hole stopes, and that's a few days worth of milling. And, so it's got the grade and the thickness. Areas at Premier is always a narrow vein, so you have to do a bit more narrow vein mining. And Big Missouri was mined as a bulk mineable ore body, and it has development. And additionally, we'll be putting out some news that we believe that some of those resources are amenable to an open pit, which could allow us the potential, the key underlining potential, to start production earlier. Even if we're breaking even, it's better than paying the care and maintenance costs
Yeah.
Of the mill and all that infrastructure.
Yeah, 100%. Rob, thank you so much. I can't wait to catch up with you again. I'd love to hear a little bit more history about your family and your mining history in BC. Super important, super valuable, and really important to our GDP in BC. So thank you.